I heard a fantastic talk where the speaker was really talking about youth trends and technology, and he said it's really only the older generation that talk about technology, because on a younger generation they live with it, it's part of their lives all the time. And if you look at the rapid advance of technology, I think as we go into the 21st century, we're really going to blur that border between science fiction and technology. If you look at the internet, which was really started around about 1969, and it just took quite a while. It was used as a military operation or a military process, and it's quite astounding to see the progress. What we know as the World Wide Web, WWW, was really only started in about 1990, 92 or so. YouTube only started as recently as 2005. The first search engines were just sort of the early 90s. So literally in the last 15 or 20 years, we really made huge advances. And I saw a fantastic statistic that says we have had more advances in the last 50 years, technological advances, than we have in the last 50,000 years. So where we're going in the next 30 years is going to be very interesting to see. A lot of people kind of see different technologies and wonder whether or not it's going to become part of their lifestyles or commercially viable. And I think, well, 3D television is kind of one of the first. That's going to be really, really close. But one of the ones that are really, really very close to us is augmented realities, which is an exciting one. Augmented realities really means that you are interfacing your physical world with information or data, that when you point a camera or a smartphone at an object or a street, suddenly it'll read those objects and you'll start getting information about it. Already we have social networks like Foursquare, which are starting to be a little bit about augmented realities. I think the next one coming through, and it's going to be quite a quick one, is actually robotics, or people are already calling them bots. And people say as close as 2020, we are going to have robots as part of a social interaction. You will have robots already in Japan. The robotics is well advanced. It just needs to get a commercial angle there. But in Japan already, you're starting to see robots that clean, that already do industrial work for us. They say the next stage of robotics will be to defend us and possibly to assist in healing people as well. I think the ironic thing about advancements in future design really is the kind of giant leap to make it commercially viable. I think we have great imaginations, we have great scientific breakthroughs, and like you see at car expos, you get these weird and wonderful glimpses into our future. So we have the technology, but to make it actually commercially viable is a big step. So for example, the fax machine, people sort of see it as a late 20th century thing, but it was actually the first patent for a fax machine was done in 1843, and it took almost 100 years really for it to start gaining ground, and it was only by the 1970s where Japanese developers started making it commercially viable. Then it really kind of exploded during the 80s, and with the technology, the internet and all of that coming through, it has a very, very short commercial lifespan because fax machines are almost outdated now. And similarly, the Concorde. It was a great idea to fly at the speed of sound, but after a decade or so, it was actually just not commercially viable. So it's that commercial link that will determine the success of a future design. There's so many future ideas waiting in the wings. So I mean, once we've kind of gone through augmented reality, we already have seen, and it's quite an old story, so we're just kind of waiting for that to come, is heat-sensitive clothing that might shrink into when you get hot, so your sleeves will sort of roll up or your skirt will go up, changing those kind of things. That technology already exists. The other one really is about sort of augmented realities just pushed even further. So you're starting to see a lot of people just using little devices. Even instead of business cards, you could literally be able to point something at somebody and information about them would start coming up. Of course, there's huge privacy issues there, but then that's not a technological issue. The two that are really very, very interesting is Internet 2. So people are saying the next model of the Internet is going to be a really high speed, able to push video content, multimedia content through. But I think the thing that is quite concerning perhaps is once the internet, they're saying Internet 2 might gain self-awareness. And already we're starting to see the current internet has an ability to solve quick and simple problems. And people are saying that there is a possibility that you are going to see some artificial intelligence growing out of Internet 2. And the one that's probably a little bit more futuristic is teleportation. We already have the ability to transport photons, little bits of light, and people are saying the next barrier then is to try and teleport small little objects and things. But I can't wait, it'll cut out traffic. I think one of the films that really resonates with me, and possibly because it's a personal favorite, is a movie like Blade Runner, which was made decades ago. But when you're starting to look at climate change, when you're starting to look at robotics, just the technologies that they had envisaged in that movie, that's quite an accurate portrayal of almost where we are right now. The other ones have a shorter timeline, things like the Minority Report, where Tom Cruise puts on a data glove and starts pushing things through cyberspace or through a virtual world there. That was actually developed by a company who is developing aerodynamics and everything. So the movie world and the commercial futuristic world are really getting closer and closer and closer, and those borders are being blurred completely. So we don't really know what is future or what is past, because it all just kind of melds into one now.